Well, we've got another day, another student loan update here. Things keep changing every day, every week, every month. We're not sure where we're going to land, but we're just here to give you the update again and try to keep it simple. So we did have a video a couple weeks ago, gave some of the updates. I've kind of held off on giving further updates until we get closer to a final version of the bill. But I'm just going to give you some updates on where we're at right now. Seen some positive developments recently. Wanted to give you some hope. I don't want to keep giving updates and telling you potential doomsday predictions. So here's some current things that are going on for you to keep an eye on. Keep in mind these are all proposed changes. None of this is final. Your individual situation is yours. None of this should be construed as me giving you any advice for anything. You have to, if you want specific advice, you need to schedule a consultation, and we can help you there. This is just for educational purposes. But let's start with the update, what we're seeing today in the latest version of the Senate bill. They should be voting on this in the next few days, we believe. But the student loan portions of that bill have kind of changed, and it seems to be shifting back in favor of the borrowers, thankfully. So it looks like the Senate version should retain ICR, pay, and save. I don't know what that's going to mean, but borrowers should have, according to this bill, until sometime in 2028 to move to IBR. That gives us hope that hopefully there were some objections raised as to whether or not it was a legal process to use reconciliation to kind of go back and change these provisions for current borrowers. I think they're moving forward saying it's okay to change future provisions in student loans through this Reconciliation Act, but it doesn't sound like they're going to get that through in this type of bill for current borrowers. So looks like good news right now. If pay is going to stick around, if you're on the pay as you earn plan, that's great. The pay plan is, to refresh your memory, is you only pay 10% of discretionary income. You make payments for 20 years. Then your loan should be forgiven, and you owe tax on whatever that forgiven amount is due in that 1 year that the loans are forgiven. So some things to keep in mind there. The married filing separate strategy seems to be in place still. It was rumored it was going to be taken out, put back in. Right now it looks like they're going to leave that in, which is good news for a lot of our married borrowers. Now, the SAVE plan, I don't know what's going to happen with that, but if you're on pay or ICR, I would just say if those are the best plans for you, it looks like you can continue to make payments on those plans and continue working towards forgiveness. So let's just hope they work through this and keep borrowers who are currently in some of those plans, keep that in place. If they want to change things in the future, that's another thing we'd have to deal with. So, good news on that front that we can continue using those plans. So it looks like they may, even when you do move to IBR in the future, we had two IBR plans that we currently do at this time. It's IBR old, which is IBR 2009, IBR new, which is 2014. The old plan had 15% of discretionary income. You make payments for 25 years. The new plan had 10% of discretionary income. You only make payments for 20 years. Now, to qualify for the new plan, you have to be a new borrower as of July 1st, 2014. You can't have taken out any loans before that time. Even if they're paid off, you already paid it off. It doesn't matter. It's just the loan disbursement date. If you have no loans before July 1st, 2014, currently that's the way it's set up that you would be eligible for that payment plan. And if that's the way it is moving forward, then for our more recent grads, our optometrists, veterinarians, lawyers, doctors, those type of clients, that these plans will really impact the most. That should be some good news for you. So we're glad to see that at least that current borrowers can keep what they have, hopefully for now. And like I said, this is just the current version. In the future, though, they're talking about everyone will move to this RAP plan. Could be up to 30 years of repayments on that plan. That's like a mortgage. I mean, that's to me, that's a dramatic shift. If you're going from one of these plans over only 20 years to looking at a new plan that's now 30 years worth of repayment, that changes the calculations immensely for a lot of our borrowers. Just something to consider. Especially, I think that 30-year term will probably apply to most of our borrowers that are professionals with medical professionals, lawyers, et cetera. In those fields, you're going to have to deal with that 30-year repayment term. I believe in the future, if you're a new borrower, that should only account for borrowers who are new borrowers as of, I believe it's July 1st, 2026 in this current version. So keep an eye out for that. And what if you're in school right now and you're not going to finish up before then? I don't know. I don't know what happens there. I don't know if your old loans would be in the old plans, but your new loans would be in the new plan. We'd have to navigate that in the future, but keep that in mind that if you're in school now, there may be some plans that are going to dramatically change what you might have thought was possible with some of these repayment plans and could dramatically increase the cost of your loans. So keep an eye on that. For students who are thinking about starting any of these professional medical school, graduate school, you haven't started yet, be very aware that the new loan provisions will only allow you to borrow, I believe, up to $150,000 in federal loans. I'm not sure if that's total or just in graduate loans, but even if that's just in graduate loans, most of our professionals we deal with are borrowing 225, 250, 300,000. If you're borrowing 300, you get into a real weird scenario where you might have 150,000 in federal loans, 150,000 in private loans. You might have two different repayment plans going on with those if you can't afford to consolidate those and just pay those all off at once, because consolidating that into one federal or one private loan would lead you to, if it was a 10-year payment, that's about $3,500 a month for 10 years. Something to stay away from potentially if you're looking to buy a house within the next year or two of that time frame or do a cold start. That might not offer the best repayment strategy for you. So just something to look at, something to consider, because even if you did an income-driven repayment plan with the federal loans and a different repayment plan with the private loans, you might still be looking at a payment of $2,200 a month, $2,000, $2,500, somewhere in there, depending on your income. But you just can't get away from that. It's two different payment plans, and it really reduces your options out there for keeping your payment low, especially in the early years when you want to start a family, buy a house, buy a car, cold start, buy into a practice, whatever that may be. So definitely some really big planning possibilities there. And if you want to, you need some help one-on-one, you can always schedule a free initial consultation. You can visit our website. It should be listed down below, prudentfinancialplan.com, or you can call our office at 239-230-0395 and schedule a free initial consultation. We can always walk you through that. So those are kind of the updates for some of our current borrowers, some of our students and future borrowers. We also have Parent Plus loans, big changes there. The House version was going to get rid of some options. Let's just give you what we see now in the Senate version. It looks like ICR will remain an option for those who have Parent Plus loans. It looks like they're going to put some deadlines on this, though, so be very aware if you have Parent Plus loans and you might have started this double consolidation process but never quite finished it. This version says you have to consolidate by July 1st, 2026, and you would have to enroll in ICR by June 30th, 2028. So some deadlines to be aware of, that you don't want to just keep sitting back and hoping your loans go away. I don't think the loans are going away anytime soon. I think I always recommend taking action, at least, get an idea of what your options are before taking no action that's one of your options, but at least look at all the different options before making that decision. Especially important for those who have just not taken any action, and it's hard because you've kind of been lulled into this false sense of security over the last 5 years with no payments, nothing, no credit reporting, no effects of default or being delinquent on your loans. Well, that's all changed. I mean, already as of May this year, they started processing loans that are in default. They're going to start taking action against those loans. I'm not a debt collection expert by any means. I just think that there are some very negative consequences to that, so I'd stay away from that. Check your loan servicer site, check your studentaid.gov site, make sure all your contact information is up to date. A lot of things have changed, I'm sure, in the past 5 years for you. Make sure they have correct contact information for you. Make sure you've checked to see when your next payment's due. If you have a payment due, please, I'm not going to give specific advice, like I said, but in general, it's recommended to make your payment if a payment's due. If you don't, you would face the consequences of negative remarks on your credit report, potentially. Those are happening again, and potential collections. So there were, the last time I saw some information, there were about 5 million Americans who were going to be in default in May when they started this, and another 4 million that were within, I think, 30 to 90 days of being in default. So there are 45 million Americans with student loans right now. That's about 20% of, or that's actually even more than that. That's about 40% of student loan borrowers that have potential default issues. So don't sit there and think this isn't me. That's not happening to me. If you try to get to your loan servicer and there's nothing showing up there, your loans could be with maybe Default Resolution Group. They handle a lot of the defaults. I don't know if they still do. They did in the past. Like I said, things have changed dramatically recently. But Parent Plus, it sounds like this version will keep the Parent Plus double consolidation exception in play. We don't know for how long, but if you have those loans and you want to at least take a look and see, does it make sense for me to do A, B, or C? You can reach out. We can help you. We do offer student loan analysis. We offer student loan analysis and financial planning. We do it all here. I'm a fee-only certified financial planner. I'm also a certified student loan professional. I have 2 years of tax prep experience, so I know enough to be dangerous in that area. But I did tax returns just for clients with student loans for 1 year with a smaller firm, and we did a lot of student loan returns, a lot of looking at married filing separate versus married filing joint. And this is something that's a complex strategy, but you may want to look into it because it sounds like married filing separate should still be an option if everything stays the way it is right now. Now the pay plan, keep in mind, in order to qualify for that, you have to have no loans before October 1st, 2007. No loans dispersed before that date. I mean, people tell me all the time, yeah, but I don't have a balance. It doesn't matter. If you have any loan before October 1st, 2007 that was dispersed to you, you're no longer eligible for pay. You also have to have some loans after any loan after October 1st, 2011. So those are two qualifications to be eligible for pay. Why is that important? That's one of the two plans. That's 10% of discretionary income, and you only make payments for 20 years. So very important, especially when you have graduate loans, because if you're looking at SAVE or Repay, that plan used to be called Repay. It morphed into SAVE and they made some changes to that. But in those plans, if you had undergraduate loans only, your repayment period was 20 years, and your loans should be forgiven after 20 years. Now, I'm going to use should because of how often things change. I'm just telling you the way it's currently understood. But if you had any graduate loans with SAVE or Repay, your loan term was 25 years. So these plans, the IBR or pay as you earn, they're always 20 years. So sometimes those can be better for you. It just depends. And like I said, we don't know what's going to happen with SAVE. It still sounds like their borrowers are going to be able to sit there. I don't know if you can actually make a payment in that plan, but everything might move to all IBR in the next couple of years, which would be IBR old, IBR new. I don't know if they're going to mash it into one or keep the two separate, or maybe we'll get some further relief down the road, and they'll just let this go and leave current borrowers in pay, which could be huge for a lot of our professional borrowers. Now, a couple things that are proposed to be repealed are the borrower's defense to repayment and the closed school loan discharge program. So those, it sounds like they're going to make a 10-year runway maybe, give them some time to run out. But if you're going to apply for something like that, we've seen those programs be beneficial for students who went to schools that are on some of these, the list for some of these plans. So borrower's defense to repayment is an option for some borrowers that, you have to read the rules and regulations and qualifications of those plans, but it could be beneficial. We also have just keep in mind those new student loan borrowers, just a lot of new information coming at you. You might not be able to borrow more than $150,000, which could dramatically shift the landscape when you're talking about the cost of your education versus the amount of money you're going to make in your field, right? So it may not make sense to borrow $300,000, 50, half of it private, half of it federal, and then go make, if you're only going to make $100,000 a year, you have to evaluate what is your career trajectory going to look like. I don't think it makes sense to go work, 3 days a week and make $100,000 a year if you have $300,000 in student loan debt, and it's not really going to be based on your completely on your income, right? So you have to factor that in. So a lot of new proposed updates. Keep in mind they're all proposed. It's what's in the latest version that we've seen. They're debating all this stuff now, so keep an eye out for further updates. If you need help, just reach out to us. We'd be happy to help. If you want more updates, just click below, subscribe to our channel. We're just building this out now. As you can see, I don't have a lot of technical expertise. I don't have any fancy graphics or music in the background. I'm just doing this to bring this to as many people as possible. I'll try to get fancier in the future. All right, take care.